Today we're going to get back to restoring these. Our VESTA crystal ball lights. So in the previous video, you can see a link to that there if you haven't seen it, we managed to find a complete set of VESTA crystal ball shades. Although the majority of them were just clear shades, that wasn't a problem because we can make them look the correct colour with the use of our bulb paint. So in this video today, we're going to take these apart, we're going to get all the bulbs out, we're going to clean up any worn or faded paint. We're then going to repaint them with our bulb paint and get them fully restored to almost factory specs. If you haven't watched the previous video, we got the shades and we just needed an appropriate set of lights to put them on, and we had this set of Noma push-in bulbs. They're the correct fit, and judging by the original pictures I've seen of these sets when they're complete, they do have white bulb holders, but the cable, although it's this thin gauge, is a slightly darker colour. But apart from that, I think we're doing pretty well. We're going to end up with a set of, unless you're an expert, a full complete set of crystal ball lights, which are very, very rare these days. That seem to be gripping on very well. These shades are something to be desired. If you get them the right way, they're okay, but we'll crack on. Now, I'm not going to show you the complete strip down of these bulbs and repainting. I'll show little snippets. If you want to see how we do this to our bulbs, there's a couple of links here to how we paint our bulbs, released a couple of years ago. And as people who are familiar with this channel know, it's very rare that we come out with a set already lit up. And yeah, I know, shock horror, we already know they work. We got them fixed and working on the previous video. So we've got our bulb paint. Let's get down to stripping the lights. We'll do a little bit of a time lapse. It's our stupidly oversized fuse bulb, but it was what was available. As mentioned on the Pivco Dual Light video, some of these bulbs are original to this set. They have the short filaments, which just go straight across. They've got two equal length filament holders, but some of the bulbs are not original because I had to replace a few of them. They've got longer filaments, and they've also got green bases. It's not strictly necessary, but let's see if we've got any spare bulbs that are more of a direct fit for these lights. So we're looking for these. These are the early Noma bulbs before they went to the twin foot prong version. This isn't quite the same. These ones have got like these little lines, but these aren't too dissimilar, although that one doesn't look very healthy. Let's have a little test on the battery holder. Oh, it works, so I'm not going to say too much about that. There's the green one, that one works. I'll just double check that they fit first, and they do. So how many do we need? So we need to replace 7 bulbs. We've already got 2. We'll also test. This one doesn't work. So we shall, as with normal and a lot of Noma lights, you can't liberate the bulbs from the bases very easily. Oh, another blown bulb. A green one that works. So still trying to find bulbs, coming up short. Found plenty for 6 volt sets, which are obviously no good for a set of 20. We need 12 volts. Now these old Noma bases, for some reason, it's hard to liberate them from their bases. They either must glue them in or they're put in while the bulb paint is still wet. Now, sets like these, some of the newer ones, they're a bit easier to liberate from their bases. But what I've found, not so much the later type Noma ones, which are really difficult to liberate. Sometimes there's actually you can actually see a bead of glue. Actually, that one's got a little bit. You can just make out a little bead of glue that they use to stick them in with. don't know if that's deliberate to stop you from swapping bases, but with these ones are fine. If you get a pair of pliers, don't put it on this part here. This bit here, you will break the bulb. If you put it down here and just kind of loosely grip it and just wiggle it backwards and forwards like that, you can liberate them without breaking them. So we can liberate some bases from these blown bulbs. We've got several, so we'll see how far these get us. Let me just make sure you've pulled your feet apart, get it the right way, just slide it in. Now this won't work on every kind of bulb because some bulbs, they can be thicker. There's an example of the glue that they put on. That's obviously probably to stop them from coming loose, to stop them from being a choking hazard, I suppose, but also it could also be an anti-swap device. And also on some bulbs, especially the prong bulbs, these kind of bulbs, the contacts are far too short to make it all the way out and to wrap around. When you're putting them in these kind of bases, the contacts is sometimes just not quite long enough. You might get a little bit to come out, but just be careful. And also when you're pulling them out the bases, make sure you pull the contacts down, because if you pull the bulb out while the contacts are still up, you can risk pulling them out of the bulb itself. See, this bulb is quite wide and I'm still going to get it in to this bulb holder base, so I'm going to put it back in its original and I can go in the spare bulb box. We've got our fuse bulb. It works. Just going to liberate it from its base. Don't throw these away, keep them. They might come in handy for another set. This is not necessary. I'm just being fastidious. I'm just making the set look as good as it can be. I'm currently coming up short on fuse bulbs for set of 20, so I'm going to have to scour eBay and see if I can find some. If somebody's got some fuse bulbs for set of 20, 12 volt ones, got several that are available, let us know in the comments below. So let's figure out what we're doing here. Okay, we've got our 4 blue, so we don't need to do much with them. We've got our 4 green, we've got 2 red, so we need a couple of clear to make that up. We've got 1 pink, 1 yellow. So because this shade is more of a orangey yellow, I'm going to use the more of the orange bulb paint on them. Then we've got our pink and our green and our blue. The green and the blue, I'm only going to do a very light coat of the bulb paint, because if it's too dark it's not going to show through. There's the bulb holder I use when I'm painting. So I'm going to put the fuse bulb in the only yellow one we have. So we've got that, 3 orange bulbs already, and the sequence I generally do on my lights like this are yellow, red, blue, pink, green. So there we go, we've got our bulbs all ready to go, ready to be cleaned up. As you can see, they're a little bit faded, a little bit worse for wear. This is what I use to scrape off all the bulb paint. Stanley 10601 blade. This is my original one. It's done every single set of lights. It's dull, but it gets the job done. And all I do is this. Takes a bit of time, but it's quite therapeutic and chilled. And that's basically all you do. All the bulb paint is now off and it's ready to be painted. Still got plenty in the orange. It just smells like nail varnish. Nice coat on it, Put your lid back on. Oh, by the way, if you're using this bulb paint, if you get any on the rim that's all dried, scrape it off, put it back in, because it kind of melts back into liquid again, so don't waste it. But there you go, there's our freshly painted bulb. I'll just wrap it like that. And there we go. All nice and orange again. So as mentioned, I'm not going to show me doing every single bulb because we've got videos for that, which we linked earlier on. So that's before, and this is after. And that's them all painted. Got our orange, our red, our blue, our pinky purple, and our green. Look much better than what they were previously. Now, if you're wondering why you can't just paint over the original bulb paint and not scrape the old paint off, you can do that, but sometimes it just makes the bulbs even dimmer and darker. But also, if you remember when I mentioned you can scrape off the excess paint around the rim of the bulb paint bottles and put it back in and it kind of just turns back into liquid again, it can also have a reaction on the old bulb paint. Sometimes it can go cloudy, or it'll start bubbling and actually start coming off because the acetone inside the paint kind of strips it off at the same time as painting it on. But it's just easier to do it this way. This didn't take long. This took 20 minutes tops to scrape off all the bulbs and paint it at a leisurely pace. Well, let's get these back into our lights. Right, I'm going to make this a time lapse so you don't need to watch paint dry. Okay, second to last one. And just so as I was going along, as I was putting bulbs in, I was testing with my bulb tester, and I do have continuity all the way. So when I put this in, they all should light up. You ready? And there we go. We got one bulb that didn't survive. There we go, fixed it. So, we have our bulbs all painted, all in sequence, and compared how they looked previous. I think they're looking pretty good now. So, this is the yellow with the fuse bulb in, and this is a clear with a yellow orange bulb. Not too bad. This is the two differences between the pinks. This is a pink shade, this is a pink bulb with a clear shade. There is a bit of a difference, but the colour is still there. The greens and the blues are fine. They've got the correct shades and the correct colours inside. Red shade, red bulb, clear shade. But I'm happy with the way they've turned out. This video's gone on long enough. We hope you enjoyed this video. If you like watching restorations like this, we've done plenty of them in the past. Consider hanging around, like the video, subscribe, share it to people who may find it interesting or who may be wanting to do something like this themselves and want some hints and tips. Hit the notification bell so you know when we upload our videos, and we will catch you on the next one.